day everyone. Today, we're going to talk about animals without backbones, or also known as invertebrates animals. We have different types of animals. There are animals with backbones and there are animals without backbones. Animals without backbones are called invertebrates. They range from well-known animals such as jellyfish, corals, slugs, snails, mussels, octopuses, crabs, shrimps, spiders, butterflies, and beetles to much less well-known animals such as flatworms, tapeworms, cephalopods, sea moths, and ticks. So mayroon po tayong iba't ibang klase ng hayop sa mundo. Mayroon pong mga animals na mayroong backbones, and meron din naman pong mga animals na walang backbones. And those animals without backbones are called invertebrates animals, and they are ranged from well-known mentioned animals. The objectives of this topic is to identify the animals, give the characteristics of animals, describe how animals are classified, identify the following invertebrate animals such as sponges, Nigerians, flatworms, roundworms, and segmented worms, soft-bodied animals, arthropods, and echinoderms. Describe the following invertebrate animals, such as sponges, Nigerians, flatworms, roundworms, and segmented worms, soft-bodied animals, arthropods, and echinoderms. And explain the habitats and importance of the different groups of animals. The outline topics are the meaning of invertebrates, different types of animals without backbones, identify the characteristics of animals without backbones, naming of organisms, and give the importance of the different groups of animals. If you were asked to define what an animal is, you would probably say that animals generally breathe, move, and eat, as most animals do. Yet, we cannot define an animal strictly on the basis of these characteristics, because not all animals inhale and exhale, even though we know that all living cells respire. Not all animals move about. Not all of them have mouth and digestive systems. In spite of our lack of a completely satisfactory definition of animals, and in spite of living examples that do not fit neatly into any informal definition, we can still categorize animals roughly as those animals that breathe, move, and eat. So normally po, kung tatanungin tayo kung ano ba para sa atin ng isang hayop o ang isang animal, sasabihin lang natin kung ano yung nakikita natin sa paligid natin. And normally, nakikita natin na sila ay gumagalaw, humihinga, and kumakain, without knowing na ang lahat ng hayop ay hindi pare-pareho. Mayroon po silang iba't ibang characteristics, mayroon din po silang iba't ibang uri. Kung saan, kagaya nga po ng sinabi ko kanina, ang ibang hayop ay walang mouth and digestive system, hindi kagaya ng ibang hayop na mayroon. And mananatili tayo sa kaalaman natin na ang hayop ay kumakain lang, humihinga at gumagalaw kapag hinayaan lang natin yung sarili natin na yun lang yung alam natin about sa isang hayop. So, magkakaroon lang tayo ng ibang information kung mag-aaral tayo o pag-aaral natin yung mga animals and kukuha tayo ng informations about sa kanila. Doon lang madadagdagan yung kaalaman natin kung ano ba talaga ang isang hayop. Classification of animals. So, we have here butterfly, fish, grasshoppers, spider, and bird. Kung saan ika-classify po natin siya kung saan siyang group na bibilang. Kung doon sa group ng mga animals na mayroong backbones o doon sa group ng animals na walang backbones. So under po ng animals without backbones, it has with 3 body regions, moth and grasshopper, kung saan nandun po yung butterfly and the grasshopper. And with 2 body regions, kung saan under po nun yung spider. So sila po ay naka-classified as animals without backbones. While the animals with backbones naman po, with gills is the fish, and without gills is the bird. So, ang fish and bird is naka-classify po natin siya as animal na mayroong backbones. Animals with backbones are called vertebrates. Examples of vertebrates animals are fishes, including humans, whales, and snakes. About 95% of all animals are invertebrates. Invertebrates are animals that do not have backbones. Sponges, jellyfish, worms, insects, and clams are all invertebrates. The next thing that the scientist will look at is the arrangement of the body parts. This is called the animal symmetry. Some animals have body parts arranged in a circle around a central point. These animals have radial symmetry. Sea anemones and starfish have with radial symmetry. Most animals have bilateral symmetry. Bilateral animals can be divided into right and left halves by drawing an imaginary line down the length of its body. Some animals do not have definite shape and are called as symmetrical animals. So, kagaya nga po na nabanggit ko kanina, mayroon tayong mga animals na mayroong backbones or also known as vertebrates animals. Ang mga example po nito ay ang fishes, whales, and snakes. Kasama na rin po tayong mga tao dahil po tayo ay mayroong mga backbones. And meron pong animals na walang backbones or known as invertebrates animals, kung saan po sabi dito ay mas marami ang animals na walang backbones kumpara sa mga animals na mayroong backbones. Dahil 95% po sa lahat ng animals ang invertebrates or walang backbones. So ang mga walang backbones na animals ay ang mga sponges, jellyfish, worms, insects, and clams. Tapos po, ang mga scientists para po ma-identify or ma-classify nila na ang hayop o ang isang animal ay vertebrates or invertebrates, ay tinitignan po nila yung body parts arrangement po ng isang animals. Doon po ay na-identify nila kung ang isang hayop ba ay kabilang sa vertebrates at sa invertebrates animals.
Levels of classification. During the time of C. Linnaeus, he identified only two kingdoms, the plant and animal kingdoms. The system worked well until advances were made in classification. Biologists now use a six-kingdom system. In fact, an eight-kingdom system is now used in some books. The six-kingdom system includes kingdom Protista, Archaebacteria, Eubacteria, Fungi, Plantae, and Animalia. A kingdom is the largest group of classification. It is subdivided into several phyla. Each phylum is divided into classes, which are further divided into orders. Orders are divided into families, and families into genera, and each genus is divided into species. The species is the basic unit of classification. The lion, tiger, and house cats belong to the same genus Felis. Note the similarities among them. So, bakit nga po ba naisip ni Linnaeus or ng mga scientists na magkaroon ng levels of classification? So, ginawa po nila ito para malaman po nila ang patterns of nature and kung paano nag-evolve ang isang hayop. And ginawa po nila ito para ma-identify ang similarities and ang differences ng bawat isa. Ang animals po is naka-classified through their DNA, structures, biochemical similarities, evolutionary relationship, and genetic similarities. So, alam naman po natin na meron na pong mga hayop na hindi na talaga nag-exist or wala na po sila dito sa ating mundo a long time ago. And therefore, gumawa po sila ng classification kung ano ba yung mga hayop na mag-evolve pa at ano yung mga pawala na or yung mga extinct na animals. And dito rin po, kailangan magkaroon ng classification para tayo as a human being, alam natin kung ano nga ba ang pinagkaiba nila and saan sila nabibilang na group. And kung paano sila nag-evolve and kung bakit sila nawawala.
Naming of organisms. Over 200 years ago, a Swedish naturalist, Carolus Linnaeus, organized a simple naming system that we still follow today. He gave each animal species a scientific name. The scientific name is composed of two words, the genus name and the species name. This is called the binomial system of naming organisms. The names are in Latin words. An example of this is the scientific name of our domestic cat, Felis domesticus. The genus name is Felis and the species name is the domesticus. The advantage of using scientific name is that there can be no confusion. A German scientist, an English scientist, or a Spanish scientist will all know when they read Felis domesticus that what is referred to is a cat. So, noong over 200 years ago, ang si Carolus Linnaeus po, ang isang Swedish naturalist, ay gumawa siya ng simpleng naming system ng mga animals na hanggang ngayon po ay sinusunod pa rin natin or ginagawa pa rin natin. So, binigyan niya po ng scientific name po ang isang animals that composed of two words, the genus name and the species name. Na kung saan tinatawag po itong binomial system. Ginawa po ito ng scientific name para daw po para kung ano man po ang gamitin nating term, kagaya po sa binigay na example, yung pusa or cat. Binigyan po siya ng scientific name na Felis sa kanyang genus name at sa species name naman po ay Domesticus, kung saan kung ang gamitin man nating term sa isang pusa or sa isang cat ay Felis or Domesticus, alam nila na tinutukoy natin ay ang pusa or ang cat. At kung sabihin naman natin na ang cat, alam nila na ang cat ay isang Felis or Domesticus. So, ginawan po nila ng scientific name para po ma-avoid ang confusions. Para kung ano man ang gamitin nating term sa isang hayop, malalaman nila kung anong hayop ang ina-identify natin or tinutukoy po natin. So, there are some examples of invertebrates animals or animals without backbones. The first one is the sponges, pore-bearing animals. Sponges are the simplest group of animals. Only tissues are present. The osculum serves as their mouth. This is a large opening on top of the sponges. Sponges produce skeletons in the form of spongin and spicules. So, kung titignan po natin ang picture na to, ay para lang po siyang isang bato. Pero siya po talaga ay isang uri po ng hayop. Tinatawag po siyang sponges. So, kung tayo po, kung makakaroon tayo ng sponges, ang papasok sa isip natin is yung panghugas ng pinggan. So, ngayon ko lang po nalaman na mayroon pong ganitong uri ng hayop kung saan tinatawag nga po siyang sponges. So, para lang po siyang halaman. Tumutubo po siya and hindi po siya gumagalaw or nakakalibot. So, siya po ay nagstay lang sa isang place kung saan ang animals ito ay kinocompose po siya ng maraming cells. The next one is the Nigerians. Nigerians are soft-bodied animals with stinging tentacles arranged in circle. They are mostly marine in habitat with only a few like the hydra that is terrestrial. They have tentacles to capture their prey. They use stinging cells to paralyze their prey. So, the next one is the Nigerians. So, ito pong Nigerians ay soft-bodied animals po. Kung saan, pag nakita natin siya sa isang tubig or pag pinagmas natin siya sa tubig, para lang siyang gulaman na gumagalaw. Pero ito po ay animals, kung saan tinatawag nga po natin siyang Nigerians, na meron po siya, composed po siya ng kanyang mga stinging tentacles, kung saan yun po ang ginagamit niya para po makakuha or makakapture siya ng pagkain. And ito pong Nigerians ay meron lang po siyang isang butas sa kanya pong kabuuan, kung saan yung butas na yun po ang nagdadigest ng mga pagkain kinakain niya. The next one is the life cycle of a jellyfish, kung saan consider din po yung jellyfish as a invertebrates animals or yung mga animals na wala pong backbones. So, jellyfishes flourish during summertime when seawater is warm. They love to stay in water places. Presence of unusual number of jellyfish in a certain place can also indicate thermal pollution of the water. To be more familiar with the jellyfish, try to examine the illustration below. It represents the life cycle of a jellyfish. The prominent part of the cycle is the medusa, the free-swimming form and the most familiar to us. The polyps are small and could hardly be seen. So, ito pong jellyfish, na gaya po na sinabi ko kanina, ay kabilang po siya sa mga invertebrates animals, kung saan gustong-gusto po nila yung part po ng tubig kung saan ay warm. They love warm places po. Para po mas makilala natin at mas maintindihan ng isang jellyfish, meron po ditong picture kung saan nagpapakita po siya ng life cycle ng isang jellyfish. So, kung makikita po natin, meron po ditong medusa. Kung tinatawag nga po natin medusa. Ito po yung kanyang reproductive stage kung saan makakapag-produce po siya ng egg. And yung egg na yun is tinatawag natin planula larva. Kung saan yung egg na yun ay magpo-floating sa water hanggang sa ma-reach na po yung endpoint ng sea, kung saan doon po siya mag-i-stay hanggang sa ma-develop siya as a polyp. At pag na-develop na po siya na polyp, mag-feed pa po siya and ma-develop pa po papuntang budding polyp. To budding polyp, ma-develop siya to ephyra. Kapag po naging ephyra na siya, mag-grow po siya and ma-develop, papunta na po siya sa medusa or yun sa mismong form po ng isang jellyfish. So, dito po, pinapakita po yung cycle ng kung paano nag-grow at nag-improve ang isang jellyfish. The next one is we have the three types of worm, kung saan nakaklasify din po siya as animal without backbones or the invertebrates animals. So, the three types of worm are flatworms, roundworms, and the segmented worms. The first one is the flatworms, invertebrates that has a soft body. So, kung makikita po sa picture, para lang po siyang isang dahon, pero siya po ay isang uri ng worm kung saan tinawag po siyang flatworm dahil kung makikita naman po sa kanyang itsura, para lang po siyang isang flat na bagay, pero siya po ay worm, isang uri po siya ng animal. So kung makikita po natin siya sa ilalim ng dagat, para lang po siyang lumulutang na malambot na bagay dahil nga po it has a soft body. Pero ito po ay isang uri siya ng worm kung saan tinatawag nga po siya na flatworms. The next one is the tapeworms. Tapeworms use their hooks and suckers to attach themselves to the intestine of the host organism. They do not have mouth or a digestive system. So ito naman pong tapeworms, maaari niya pong ma-infect ang human and even the animals. So sa tao po, makakakuha po tayo ng tapeworms sa pagkain po natin ng mga meat na hindi po siya gaanong luto. At ang mga meat kasi po, hindi naman po kasi natin nakikita kung yun ba ay may worm o wala. So, meron po kasi ako napanood kung saan bumili po siya ng meat na yung hilaw pa hindi pa naluluto, and then ang ginawa niya, binuhusan niya ng soft drinks kung saan naglabasan po doon yung mga worms. So, meron talagang mga worms na maliliit doon sa kinakain natin ng mga pagkain. Kaya dapat kapag nagluto tayo ng meat, ay i-make sure natin na lutong-luto talaga siya. Kasi kapag po ang pagkain na yun ay niluto natin ng maayos, ay mapatay po doon yung mga mikrobyo na mayroon yung pagkain na yon. Pero kapag siya ay undercook o hindi masyadong naluto, may possibility na buhay pa rin yung mga worms na yun, and pag kinain natin, papasok siya sa katawan natin kung saan ay maninirahan siya sa ating intestine. Sa mga hayop naman po, nag-i-infect po nito ang hayop kapag ang hayop ay yung kumakain din ng basta madumi na lang. Kasi diba, kagaya na lang ng aso, halimbawa ang aso, kapag ang aso ay nakakita ng pagkain sa lupa, kahit naman madumi yan, kakainin niya pa rin yan. So, by that, makakakuha po siya ng worms kung saan maninirahan din po sa kanyang loob ng intestine. The next one is the roundworms. Roundworms are parasites that live in your intestine. They have long round bodies and range in size. Roundworms can live in or on humans and cause many problems. So, itong roundworm, similar po siya sa tapeworm, kung saan may kakayahan din po siyang tumira sa ating intestine. Ito pong roundworms ay nakakatira siya sa intestine natin ng matagal, and makakapag-cause po ito ng maraming problema sa ating health. So, itong roundworms is nakukuha po ng tao kapag hindi po tayo malinis sa katawan natin. And ang commonly po na nagkakaroon nito is yung mga tao na nakatira sa mga rural areas, kung saan hindi po sila ganun kalinis or ka-hygiene na tao. So kapag tayo ay nagkaroon, ito kasing mga worms na to is naninirahan sila or mostly nakikita sila sa mga lupa, sa soil, and yun. Kapag ang tao, syempre nadumihan ka and hindi mo yun nalinis agad, so may possibility na magkaroon ka po nitong worm na to and manirahan siya sa loob ng intestine mo, and kapag tumagal pa siya doon, is makakapag-cause po siya ng maraming health problem. So dapat po talaga malinis po tayo sa pangangatawan natin para po maiwasan natin na magkaroon ma-infect ng ganitong worms. Itong worms na to, mga roundworms, is na-infect niya din po yung mga animals. So maaari din po magkaroon ng animals. And yun nga po, like what I've said, nakukuha din ito sa improper hygiene, hindi maayos na paglilinis ng katawan na nagsisimulan po ng pagkakaroon ng roundworms kung saan naapektuhan nga po yung ating kalusugan.
The next slide is about ascaris. Getting rid of all these parasitic worms is helpful. Although, there are a number of different roundworms like pinworms, hookworm, and trichina worm. We will just concentrate on the ascaris. These are very common to children, especially in rural areas. Poor hygiene and mishandling of food are common causes of infection. Let us now start by discussing ascaris, the most common roundworm. So, tayo ako as a 22 years old, hindi ako familiar na ang tawag pala sa bulate or sa bulate sa katawan natin is ascaris. And there are things to remember about ascaris worms. So, ito daw is yung worm na sumasama sa pagkain natin at tumitira sa ating katawan. Things to remember about ascaris worms. Eggs in food and water are ingested by hosts. Eggs hatch in the small intestine. Larvae enter blood vessels and are carried to the lungs. Larvae or young ascaris travel to the throat and are swallowed. Adult ascaris worms live in the small intestine. Eggs leave host in feces and can live up to 10 years in the soil if conditions are favorable. So, yun nga, yung ascaris is isa siyang type of roundworm na nabubuhay sa loob ng katawan natin. And sabi nga dito is, ang ascaris daw is existing sa mga bata sa rural areas na kung saan hindi ganong kalinis yung pamumuhay nila or hindi ganong kaayos yung pagkain nila. Dahil ang ascaris worm is a type of worm na tumitira sa pagkain which is infected sila nung eggs nung bulate na yon. And yun nga, so sinasabi na kapag meron tayong poor hygiene, is possible merong nag-e-exist na ascaris worms. And yung egg na yon is possible din na makuha natin sa mga vegetables na kinakain natin, fruits and vegetable na hindi ayos ang pagkakahugas or sa vegetable hindi ayos yung pagkakaluto and hindi nabalatan ng ayos. Yung mga tao daw na infected nito is hindi daw magkakaroon or walang no shown of symptoms. Segmented worms live in marine habitats such as the intertidal zone and near hydrothermal vents. Segmented worms also inhabit freshwater aquatic habitats as well as moist terrestrial habitats such as forest floors. So, ang segmented worms daw is matatagpuan sa marine habitats. Example nito is dun sa intertidal zone, which is yung high tide, middle tide, and yung low tide. So, ibig sabihin daw, ang segmented worms pala is nabubuhay or naninirahan sa ma-water or sa matubig na lugar and near hydrothermal vents. So, yun nga, nag-i-exist yung segmented worms is sa water or mas gusto nila na manirahan sa water. Kung kanina is yung naunang mga types ng worms is sa loob ng katawan natin. Ito naman daw segmented worms is yung sa soil, sa basang soil, or sa kahit anong merong fresh water or aquatic habitats. One of the example of segmented worms is the earthworms. So, alam naman natin is, and makikita natin kanina sa picture, na ang segmented worms ay kabilang dito is yung earthworms or yung nakikita natin at madalas nating nakikita nasa lupa or lalo na kapag tag-ulan na makikita natin nakalat siya. Ito yung pinaka nakakakilabot na makikita mo kapag maulan is yung mga earthworms na talagang naglalabasan. May iba't iba siyang sizes. Merong sobrang malaki and mahaba and meron namang maliliit lang. And yung earthworms, kung mapapansin nyo, is lagi silang wet or lagi silang basa. And yun nga, ito ay sa kadahilanan na mas gusto nilang manirahan sa freshwater or sa mabasang surface or area. The next one is the soft-bodied and joined-leg animals. The soft-bodied animals are also called mollusks. They have soft bodies, some of which are protected by one or two shells while other members do not have valves. The joined-leg animals are those with joined appendages and segments known as arthropods. So there are three most common types of soft-bodied: the univalves, the bivalves, and the cephalopods. So, the univalves is a shell consisting of one valve only. A mollusk whose shell is composed of a single piece, as the snail. Most univalves are spiral and are shells of gastropods. So, as you can see po sa image is para siyang suso. So, sinasabi po na ang univalves daw po is meron siyang isang shell lang or ang nagpo-protect sa kanya is isang shell lang and then yung soft-bodied po is nandun sa loob ng shell na yon. So, the next one naman po is yung bivalve. A bivalve is an animal belonging to the class Bivalvia. Its name is a reference of the two shells called valves that protect its soft inner body parts. Bivalves, like clams, oysters, scallops, and mussels, are commonly used throughout the world as a source of food of both humans and other animals. So, ang bivalves naman daw po is yung kind of or is an animal type na meron siyang two shells to protect yung soft-bodied or yung inner soft na nandun sa loob ng shell. And nakikita po natin dito sa picture na ito po is parang yung peras na nakukuha natin sa ilog. And ito daw pong bivalves is nakakain or source of food ng tao and ng animals. So, as you can see po, ang pinagkaiba po ng univalves and ng bivalves is yung univalves po is iisa lang po ang shell na nagpo-protect sa kanya, while ang bivalves naman po is dalawang shell ang nagpo-protect sa kanya. So, the last common type of soft-bodied animals is the cephalopods. A cephalopods is any type of molluscan class cephalopoda such as a squid, octopus, cuttlefish, and nautilus. This is exclusive marine animals. So, sila naman po is yung kind of soft-bodied animals which consist of at least 8 arms po, and meron po silang heads and 2 eyes. So, ang kaibahan niya po sa univalves at sa bivalves, ito naman po is yung kind of soft-bodied which is meron siyang mga arms. Like octopus nga po. Cephalopods literally means head foot in Greek, a reference to the way the cephalopod's head connects to its arms. So, yun nga po, as we notice po, yung octopus po and squid po is nakakonect yung head nila sa kanilang foot. Kaya ang tawag po sa cephalopods is head foot. And kung mapapansin po natin, wala po silang shell. And ano nga ba ang nagpo-protect sa kanila? Ang ginagamit po nilang pang-protect is yung tunnel na naglalabas ng water guns or tinatawag na water guns, which is naglalabas sila ng inks to protect themselves sa ibang animals na kakain sa kanila or sa panganib. So, ang next naman po is yung joint leg animals. In this picture po, mananotice po natin na more on insects po siya, like butterfly, spider, centipede, millipede, and shrimp. So, if you will notice po, yung po yung mga insects or animals na merong joint legs. Joint legs. The name Arthropoda means jointed legs. In Greek, arthros means joint and podos means leg. Aside from the presence of appendages, arthropods also possess an external covering called exoskeleton. The exoskeleton covers, supports, and protects the body. This exoskeleton is a non-living structure that cannot grow as the animal grows. So, yung appendages po, yung parang galamay ng insects, or kung makikita po natin yung sa crab po, yung meron silang extended yung arms nila or yung legs nila is extended or merong kadugsong or ka-joint. Meron din po silang tinatawag na exoskeleton. Yung exoskeleton naman po is kung makikita natin sa mga insects, meron silang mga shell na parang matigas. And kung sa crab naman siya or sa shrimp, yun po yung pinakabalat nila na medyo matigas po. And kung isa-search po natin sila sa internet, is yung po yung lalabas, which is yung parang mismong pumoprotekta sa mga insect. So, siya po is non-living structure which is hindi po sila lumalaki or nag-grow. Sila po, ang purpose po nila is to protect the animals. And kasabay po ng pag-grow ng animals is yung pag-grow nila. Kumbaga, hindi po sila nagkukusa na mag-grow. Para lang po talaga ma-protect yung isang animals, kaya meron itong exoskeleton. Insects. Insects are the most abundant and most widely distributed member of the phylum. The capacity of insects to survive is due partly to its high chance of adaptability and great variations in lifestyles. Insects live in the most every habitat, from tropical forests to frigid areas. This ability to fly has also allowed them to transfer to new, unexploited habitat and to escape from predators. It has also helped them to disperse and enable them to have greater access to food and more desirable environment. Some insects can multiply rapidly. Take the flies for example. Some flies can produce new generation every 8 to 10 days just like Drosophila flies. In the case of certain insects, like the termites, the female can lay more than 1 million eggs during her lifetime. So, yun nga po, we all know na ang insects po is makikita natin kahit saan. And they are capable of living kahit anong klima or kahit saan tayo pumunta is merong insects. So, and sinasabi din po dito na ang insects daw po ang most abundant and most widely distributed member of the phylum dahil mabilis po silang dumami and magparami. And sila po, kaya nilang mag-adjust kahit saan sila pumunta. And meron po ang mga insects, most of the insects is merong is kayang lumipad or ability to fly para makahanap ng pagkain, para makalayo sa kaaway, and para makahanap ng place na mas maganda or environment na mas mabubuhay sila. The next one is the spiny-skinned animals. These are found along the coastal area and in school laboratory or natural museums. Most echinoderms are marine animals. Examples of echinoderms are starfish, sea urchins, sand dollar, sea cucumber, and sea lilies. Some of their remains may be washed up on the beach. Echinos is a Greek word meaning spiny and derm means skin. So, echinoderm means spiny-skinned animals. As you can see po in the picture, ang mga example po ng spiny-skinned animals is merong mga hard surface or merong mga sharp surface which is magpoprotect sa kanila, and ito yung kanilang structure. Meron silang matitilos at matatalim na skin. Next naman po is starfishes. Sea stars or starfishes demonstrate the basic features of echinoderms, structures, and functions. Sea stars are widely distributed along the intertidal zones. Sometimes, large numbers of them may group together on rocks. They also live among muddy or sandy bottoms and coral reefs. Their color varies. Sometimes are orange or red while others are blue. So, ayun nga po dito is ang best example po ng spiny-skinned animals is yung sea star or starfish. Dahil siya po ay merong sharp edges and meron siyang hard structure. Sea star or starfish. The dorsal and ventral sides of a starfish are shown. Note the radial symmetry and 5 arms. Most starfishes are pentamerous or with 5 arms. The arms have tube feet on the ventral side that help in movement through action of the water vascular system. The mouth is located on the ventral side at the center. Opposite to this, on the ventral side is the anus. They are mostly carnivorous and feed on mollusks like clams and oysters. So, yan nga po, makikita natin yung two sides of starfish. And as we can see po, parehas po siyang may hard structure and meron po siyang 5 arms. And ito po ay may iba't ibang purpose dahil ang ventral side niya daw po is ginagamit para siya ay makalakad or makagawa ng movement. And ayun po, meron din po siyang side which is nandun yung mouth niya para makakain siya. And yun. So, yun lang po. And sana po may natutunan kayo sa topic namin. And hindi lang po sa land merong mga invertebrates, pati na rin po sa sea. And kasama na din po doon yung mga insects. That's all. Thank you.